Hello and welcome to episode number 39. Are you all right, Tom?
Hey Marcus, yeah, looking forward to what are we doing today?
Well, we are. Do you know we're called Modern Art is Rubbish?
I gathered, yeah.
Well, I thought we'd investigate modern art is rubbish for a podcast. So today we're going to be looking at lots of different things associated with art and rubbish cleaners, and I even interviewed an artist who creates sort of a sand castle cities using discarded items.
All right, so when you're saying we're doing modern art is rubbish, we're doing modern art that's made of rubbish.
Or involving rubbish.
Like bin bags rubbish.
Yes. Yeah. Or ends up in bin bags, the whole lot.
Whoa.
It's quite interesting though. I mean, do you remember, we were talking about that the other day, that we get quite a lot of listeners and likes on our page because they think that we actually think that modern art is rubbish.
Yeah.
They like it, don't they? And then they realise that, no, which we sort of invite people to like the page, and then they think, oh yeah, I think modern art is rubbish.
It's shit.
Oh no. That's rubbish language.
No, but we've had some people who've said, why do you say this? It's like, it's not rubbish. I quite like modern art.
Yeah, it's really bad. Don't do it. Don't do irony on the internet is the answer.
Oh, right, yeah.
So, I know you're thinking, but what is modern art? Because we talk about a lot of modern art, and people say, oh, modern art is rubbish, but actually a lot of times they're saying contemporary art is rubbish.
Oh, contemporary. So contemporary, that's like current, I suppose.
Yes.
And modern is an actual genre rather than a time.
Well, funny you should ask that.
Yeah.
Modern art runs from the 1860s, so you're talking and looking at sort of Impressionism, early Impressionists, up to around about the 1970s.
I would say modern art is actually quite old-fashioned.
Yeah, but people haven't actually moved on. They still think that modern art is everything.
Yeah, because modern art, to me, in my head, when I heard modern art, it was like, oh yeah, that's current.
Yeah.
It's modern.
It's kind of like classical music, isn't it? Classical music is a period in music.
Right, yeah.
It's really art music, but I think classical's become a kind of like a ubiquitous term for...
Do you know what era it is then, classical?
No, I don't, because my knowledge is quite limited on classical music.
But I guess people still do classical. There's modern classical composers.
Yeah, but it technically is art music, but it's now become a sort of like a term that's used for all music.
All music pre-Phil Spector.
Free Phil. I nearly said free Phil Spector there. Yeah. No. It's only because I want him to mix your latest album. Yeah, so art critics started using the term contemporary around about the 1960s. So you're wondering, but then of course you're thinking, but that's like Andy Warhol contemporary, Damien Hirst contemporary. But what about the artists now, like Adrian Genny or Avery Singer? You're thinking they were born sort of like in the sort of mid-70s, and some were even born in the 80s. What are they called? Are they still contemporary? Are they the same as Andy Warhol?
Yeah, what are they then?
Well, there's a new thing which ArtNet uses to distinguish ArtNet, the big website on art, and they call them ultra contemporary.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, so that work is now ultra contemporary apparently.
Yeah, so we're going to have to keep inventing new words for current.
Yeah.
In art, aren't we, for the next few hundred years?
Yeah,
as long as
words?
Got any words for current? Hot.
Hot. That's contemporary. I like that. Right. So, on to the first artist. We're going to talk about rubbish, a lot of rubbish, and this is an artist called Gavin Turk. He does a lot of quite ironic artworks, and we've picked a sort of series of his, and they're called Trash Culture. Now, what this artist has done is he's actually made casts in different materials of actual rubbish, the stuff that we all throw away. So I'm looking at one here, and it's called a 2008 piece, and it's called Cod and Chips to Take Away. Now, looking at this is literally a bronze cast of a polystyrene takeaway chip tray. So basically, you know, when you go late at night after a few drinks and you go to your local
this one that he's done,
Yeah.
it looks like one that has been discarded on the street, so it's
Yeah.
not like a new one. You get it all shiny and new, and you can put the
With
lid
chips
down.
in,
This is all cracked and it's got like footprints on it, like it's like
Yeah.
litter, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's that kind of one that you find on find on the street where if someone's been eating chips and they've just chucked it. Do you wonder what it's made of, Tom?
You said described it as a cast,
Yeah.
didn't you? So it's like it's not made of polystyrene.
No,
then
it's actually made of bronze and it's painted to look super realistic.
Oh, right, yeah. You've given me an image on a bit of paper, a photo of it. It does look like polystyrene. You wouldn't. I guess if you were there in real life, it would still, looking at it in front of you, it would still look like polystyrene.
It's obviously going to be a lot more expensive to buy one of those and have them in, but it's interesting. It questions the nature of the stuff we throw away and, you know, the value we give to stuff.
Yeah.
And the value of art. I mean, would you like to have one of those in your Gavin Turk in your house? Or would you?
Not really.
No.
I like Gavin Turk, but it's like, I don't know, it just looks messy, doesn't it?
It does. It looks like rubbish.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and we will put pictures of discarded chip trays.
I tell you who'd love Gavin Turk art. Foxes.
Foxes. Just put a few. Well, that wouldn't be. But foxes don't like bronze chips.
Oh, right, that's true, yeah. But they wouldn't be able to tell. They'd have to come over and have a look, wouldn't they?
He's also done a series of other works on the idea of rubbish. There's one which is 2004, which was called Dump, which was a bronze cast of a bin bag. It literally looks like a used bin bag full of rubbish, but it's made of bronze. And he's done another one which is called Pile, which is a series of 6 bin bags.
Wow,
all sort of arranged and stacked together. The thing is, there'd be no danger of those being chucked away because I reckon they'd be really heavy if that was bronze.
Yeah, it's just going to, like, if you leave them in your garden, everyone's going to come round, they'll just think you're a slob. I'll be like, no, it's art. Honestly, guys, don't leave. It's art, guys. They're not real bin bags. They're made of bronze. Guys, this cost £100,000. Don't leave, guys.
Bronze bags. Yeah. Well, if you are going to throw them away, you could use his 1996 piece called Pimp, which actually is a highly polished and lacquered skip. And again, it's looking at identity, authorship, those kind of things, you know.
What is it? Let's have a look.
It's a really highly polished skip.
All right, yeah. Again, it looks like rubbish.
Yeah. But this one actually is made out of steel. It's not made out of bronze, and it's just a really, what I'm looking at is a
Guys,
skip.
this skip is made out of steel.
So if you want to keep your bronze bin bags, you can stick them in this skip, this posh skip. So it's like a kind of posh.
Cheers, Gavin.
Yeah. Cheers, Gavin.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's gutted. So, sorry, it leads us very nicely to our next artists, which is Tim Noble and Sue Webster, and they're a British art duo.
You mean a British art duo?
I did that. For those of you listening, for some reason I did a OK sign that divers would do.
On the word British.
Oh dear. Oh my God. God save the Queen.
Well, we're a British art duo, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess as well.
I guess, yeah. So this is another British art duo.
Yes, this is art, discussing art. They're famous for doing works that relate to self-portraiture. And one of the ways they create portraits, and probably their most famous work, is called Dirty White Trash with Goals. And basically what they do is that they did a series of these works, and they're shadow sculptures. So what they do is they create sort of like a piece of an insulation piece, and it can be incorporating lots and lots and lots of rubbish. So it could be scrap metal, it could be old toothbrushes, it could be used baked bean cans, old Lego bricks, broken sunglasses, basically anything that you
can get at Tesco.
After you've used it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's toilet rolls there as well.
Yeah. So looking at this work, it's a pile of rubbish that they've accumulated over 6 months. What's unusual about this piece is that they've shone a light on the rubbish, and what it does is it actually forms a silhouette of the artists. And what they're doing is they're decadently, I don't know, would you say they're decadently sitting back to back?
Well, when you say decadent, they're sitting back to back on the ground.
Yeah.
One of them is drinking a glass of wine, the other one's smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, they're looking very relaxed and enjoying the finer things in life, if cigarettes are the finer things in life.
Yeah.
So
I saw a piece about a cigarette. I don't know if you saw it on the kitchen table.
What was that?
It's just got cancer coming out in smoke.
Oh,
It's from 1970.
that's
I'll have to show you that.
that's very literal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you mean there's an association between cigarette smoking and cancer?
1970 there was, yeah.
But now it's cool. No, it's not. I didn't say that. It's not cool. Don't smoke. So the light has cast this shadow. So it's really interesting. So what you've got is you've got this abstract pile of rubbish, and then you've got this really realistic looking shadow on the wall.
Yeah, it's amazing. At first, I didn't notice the silhouette. I was just like, oh, it's a big pile of rubbish with seagulls there. Then you look behind it, you see the silhouette on the wall, this image of the two artists.
Yeah,
it's amazing. It makes me think you are what you eat.
Yes. Is this us? Is this what we are?
Yeah.
You know, there's that kind of question. There's also, as an artist, a lot of the art that I do is actually semi-representational. So it's not quite abstract and it doesn't quite look like the thing. And there's always that balance. And this is really interesting that you've got the completely abstract juxtaposed with the kind of realistic looking silhouettes of the people.
Yeah, nice.
And you say, but is that all there is to this art? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, is there something else that you're not saying yet?
Yeah. It's also questioning what is real, what is reality.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to tell you a quick story. Do you want to hear a bit of Greek philosophy?
Yeah, please, please.
Yeah. The Greek philosopher Plato used this story of a cave to describe reality, or I suppose how people perceive reality. And what it is he said, you've got to imagine a cave, and there's people that have been chained up since they've been babies. So I suppose they must all wear their chains as they grow up.
Right, yeah.
And behind them, there is sort of like a fire burning. So when people walk in front of the fire, they see these shadows, and they think, these shadows are real. They think, well, these shadows are talking, they're making noises. Goes behind them.
The shadows are them.
Well, no. They see an animal behind them. Sorry, maybe I misplaced the fire, but there's a fire in the room, right, that casts shadows, but they can't see what walks past the fire.
Okay, yeah.
So because they're chained and they're facing forwards.
Yeah.
Maybe that's made it clearer. So an animal might pass and they'll hear a noise and they think, oh, look, that's a shadow thing, creature. And of course, they're seeing shadows. They're not seeing the real thing.
Yeah.
And what happens is one day, one of the people that are chained up, he's freed. He suddenly finds himself free, and he goes out into the bright sun. It's like, oh my God, it's really bright out here. And then he suddenly sees that, hang on a sec, hallucinating, because he's seeing all these like real things, like solid people and like animals and stuff. And he thinks, whoa, it's really bright, and he can't believe it. So he goes back into the cave to tell his friends and says, my God, look at all these real things out. There's loads of real things out there. It's amazing. These shadows aren't real. They're cast by real objects. And his friends just go, no, don't be stupid. You're crazy.
Yeah, you've been abducted by aliens.
Yeah. And
the shadow aliens, obviously.
The shadow aliens, yeah. And of course, it's about the reality. He's gone out into the light, the bright light, and seen things as they are another reality. And when you look at this piece, you see the rubbish and you see the shadow, and you question what is real, what is, what is life about. And
all right, yeah. So there's a bit of a nod to Plato in this piece.
yes, I think so.
Yeah.
I like a nod to Plato.
Yeah.
So the last one was about consumerism, the last art piece we talked about. And this next artwork by Michael Landy has a similar flavour. And it's called Breakdown. And it's by Michael Landy. And for the 2001 work, the artist destroyed everything he owned. Literally everything. His clothes, his artworks that were given to him, his dad's prized sheepskin coat. He even destroyed his car, everything.
So what, the art piece was the process of him destroying his stuff? Was he there in the gallery destroying his stuff and people were watching him do it?
Yeah, so what happened was he made a list of every single item he owned, which actually totalled 7,227 items. And over the period of 2 weeks, a team of 12 assistants shredded, dismantled and crushed all of these possessions. And basically this was actually done on Oxford Street. Now, for those of you that don't know what Oxford Street is, it's a sort of like a busy shopping centre. It's kind of like a mecca to consumerism in London. It's quite good. It's quite buzzy, but I wouldn't like to go there too much because it gets very crowded.
Yeah, it's always busy around Oxford Street, yeah.
So this was held in a site of a former clothes shop in Oxford Street. If you went there, it had conveyor belts and items in yellow boxes, so it looked a bit like a factory floor. And for me, I mean, I remember when this piece was done, and it's very much about, what objects define us, the things that we consume. Does it, is it us? And it's also obviously a thing about consumerism. It's about all this stuff that we just keep buying. What does it mean? Does it represent anything?
Yeah, so doing it on Oxford Street, that's quite a good place to do that. Quite funny.
Yeah. So obviously at the end, Michael Landy ended up having nothing. He'd even borrowed the boiler suit that he was in. So of course all this stuff he was just left with lots of shreddings that were in bin bags. At the time he was thinking about sort of like selling the shreddings, his shredded possessions, as kind of like little artworks in themselves.
Artifacts.
Yeah. Artifacts.
Yeah.
And he decided not to. He thought he couldn't bear to go around people's houses and perhaps see, be reminded of his stuff that he's lost and see it in like a little perspex box. You know. So sadly, it all went to landfill. Now in 2001, I have to say, environment wasn't as high up the agenda, because I can't imagine you would do that now, destroy your work and just stick it in landfill.
Whoa, yeah.
Yeah, it's not something you want to do. So, he's destroyed all his work. He actually is left with something at the end of it. Apparently he's left with a lot of debts because he's still got to find stuff and everything. He's destroyed everything he owns. So, and he's had to go and buy himself a toothbrush. And apparently, he said within about a few hours of it finishing, he'd already been given a Paul Weller CD by a friend. So he'd already accumulated something pretty much straight away. But he said he had no CD player to play it on because he crushed it.
All right. Maybe you could go to the library. Bring your headphones. You'll have to borrow some, won't you?
Yeah.
Hello, welcome to the library. Yes, I just want to come in and play my CD. Yes, CD players are over there, sir. Go over there, help yourself. You're going to have to use headphones. You're going to have to use headphones. There's no sound in here. Also, could you put some clothes on? Do you have your library membership card?
No.
No. No, all I've got is this Paul Weller CD. Please play it for me.
So that's Michael Landy.
Yeah, Michael Landy, yeah. Or Landy Phil, as he likes to be known. Landy Phil?
Yeah, Landy Phil. The next artist we're featuring, Tom, we've got an interview.
Hey!
Yeah, when I was in Colchester, I sounded like my great-grandfather. He was Italian, yeah, it's quite funny. I was speaking to a Suffolk-based artist who was having his work shown in a gallery in Colchester called Andy Greenacre. And it was a work that was involving sand. But
cool.
Don't worry, it does stick within the rubbish theme of this podcast.
Good, glad to hear it.
Yeah, because he uses discarded packaging to create a sandcastle city in the gallery.
Wow.
Yeah. Have you ever played with sand?
Maybe when I was a kid. Yeah, probably.
I like that.
Well, no, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. Have you ever seen that stuff I like? It's a magic sand.
Oh, don't say the word magic to me.
No.
You know what I'm going to come out with.
No, nothing to do with mushrooms. Don't do mushrooms, kids. No, well, normal mushrooms you can do because they taste nice with salads.
Yeah, well, I've never made a castle out of mushrooms.
Yeah, but magic mushrooms. No, not magic mushrooms.
Sand.
Magic sand.
Magic sand.
Magic sand. Yeah, magic sand. You know, it's this sand. What it does is you put it in water but then when you take it out of the water, it gets dry instantly. I don't know how it does that.
I'm not sure what magic sand is.
Sand. Well, all I remember is you put the sand in the water, and when you take the sand out of the water, it's dry instantly.
Wow.
Because it's magic.
So is that the sand he used for this city sculpture?
No, he used normal sand.
Where did he get the sand from?
I didn't ask him, you know.
Oh, right, yeah. I suppose he could just rock up to Clacton or Frinton and take a look. I guess he's in Suffolk, so that'd be Harwich. Do they have sand in Harwich?
Harwich sand. I wouldn't use Harwich sand for anything. Oh, sorry to those in Harwich.
Aldborough, I suppose.
Aldborough sand. Nice quality sand, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... Yes, that's a nice selection of sand memories there. So, this is the interview with Andy Greenacre. Describe the work for us.
Yeah, so it's called 520 Sandscapes, and it's a second installation that I've done of a sand sculpture. It's made out of the forms of waste plastic. So everything that's like a one-use item that you'd have at home, a meat tray, a mushroom tray. The idea is that I've created this sandscape out of those forms. So there's about 20 repeating shapes across it. Yeah. And there are roughly 520 of them. Yeah, Not exact. And it's meant to represent a very optimistic idea that if we only had 10 bits of plastic each, that's what it would look like in a year.
Okay, so I'm looking at some of these shapes. I'm quite interested to see what are the sort of like. They look like shuttlecocks.
Yeah, so someone called them Daleks.
I was like, oh, okay, Daleks.
Shuttlecocks. They're actually screwball ice cream.
Oh yes, yeah.
Packets. So I've tried to choose some items that just stand out slightly different. So the large one with an indentation on the top is actually a profiterole tray. Not something that I used, but it was my mum and dad's. And then there are other ones that just have really nice patterns. So the one that's large and long, that's actually a mushroom tray. Yeah. I mean, it's really sad, isn't it, that something like a mushroom, which you and I would have had in a paper bag, is now given to you in a plastic container with a cellophane wrap. Yeah. And actually it sweats and goes off anyway. So it's just trying to highlight that volume of plastic.
There is a lot. And this is the average for how long did you say?
Well, I've basically said 520, which is 10 items a week. So in a very, very, very cautious average, if you were to have 10 items a week. Yeah. Now, I know that's slightly antagonistic because there's probably nobody who does that. But that's part of it, is to try and force people to realise that if they had 10, it would still look like this quantity. And it's just over 8 metres long and just over a metre wide. So it's quite a large quantity. And the weight of the sand is about 750 kilograms.
Crikey. How long did it take you to do it?
It 12 hours.
12 hours.
Yeah. So it's sort of previously when I've done this, I did one at First Light Festival, which it was in Lowestoft this year. Oh, cool. And it was a durational piece that I made over 24 hours. And at the end of it, it was destroyed. But obviously, there was no chance that anyone could have found it over the coming weeks and months because it had gone.
Oh, right.
So that's why when I was asked if I wanted to be involved with this and I wanted to reinstall, I wanted to do something that was physically similar. Yeah. Obviously, putting it in a gallery gives it a completely different context rather than the beach.
So there's a look of Blade Runner about it. It is a cityscape I'm looking at as well.
Exactly, do you know what? Blade Runner is one of the ones I get regularly. The other one I get is Star Wars.
Star Wars, yes.
So, and then someone else said, what about, it's a bit like Dubai. Yeah, and there's apparently these Moroccan cities.
Oh, yes. In this bit, I asked him about how he starts to create a work. I mean, what does he do first?
I presume it's something to do with a bucket and spade, but
all of my work starts with play. Yeah. So these are sandcastles. This is play in sand. Cool. My experience is that when people walk in and see it, they are sort of taken back to their childhood and brought straight back down to being young, having fun, not having any kind of worries, and then they can kind of see it as art.
Yes. Yeah, I was just thinking when you say take it back to your childhood, my first instinct would be to run out and kick it down.
Well, funnily enough, I'm sort of considering at the end of the exhibition, which is what I did at the Lowestoft one, having children come in and destroy it.
Yes. I like the fact as well, because, I suppose it's obvious, but, sand is very biodegradable. I was looking at that and saying,
but it definitely, you said that kind of organic, biodegradable erosion side of it. It will disappear. It has no value as an artwork apart from in situ, and unlike the plastic that will last for hundreds of years, it's going to go.
Yeah. What other stuff are you doing in the future?
So what I'd like to do is I'd like to do a larger version of this.
Yes.
I do this in concrete as well, on a small scale, like a live performance where people come and actually create. They bring the plastic, I make the concrete, and I put it onto pallets. I've done that on the beach before.
Oh, great,
So I'd like to do that again. I'd like to develop this and make larger versions. When it was at First Light Festival, Wayne Hemingway obviously was involved with that, and he said that it was an interesting, fun piece that kind of was thought-provoking. I'd quite like to see if there's a way this could be a performance piece at festivals, at places where waste is created, where those people would not do that in their everyday life, and yet they're in a field having fun and they don't necessarily think about the waste they create.
So that was interesting then. That was Andy Greenacre. Any thoughts on the? Do you want to make a sand city yourself, Tom?
Not really. No.
What about maybe not sand? You've got access to a lot of cat litter. Have you ever thought about using, because you've got a cat, of course, Kenzie. Thought about using cat litter to create an artwork?
Because I clear out the litter tray. Yeah. Like anyone who has a litter tray will go, you don't want to play with that.
You've never been tempted to sculpt it.
You can ask Kenzie what she does with it. I mean, she does play with it.
Yeah. Oh,
she makes sculptures out of her shits.
Oh my god. So, I hear you thinking, right? It's all a bit confusing. How do you tell what's art and what isn't art?
Yeah.
Do I hear you thinking that?
Well, what am I working for the council, collecting the rubbish?
Yeah. I mean, how do you tell what's art and what's not art?
Yeah. Well, it'll be in the green bins, won't it?
Well. There have been a lot of cleaners I've been looking into over the years that have had problems with this very question.
Well, absolutely. All the work we've looked at today just looks like a pile of trash, doesn't it?
Yes.
Even though it's not in the green bins, you'd be tempted if you were a bin man, wouldn't you?
Right. In 2004, a cleaner chucked away part of the work by the artist Gustav Metzger, and part of the installation that the artist did was actually a bag of rubbish. But there was if you look at the piece, there was actually a perimeter sort of marked out on the floor, which the bag was placed behind. And apparently the bag represented the sort of like fragility of art. And on the wall of the installation was a sort of like a nylon work, which was part destroyed. Metzger was famous for his auto-destructive art. So basically, a cleaner saw this and thought, oh, look, there's a bag of rubbish. It must be rubbish, not art.
Absolutely.
What would you do when confronted with a bag of rubbish? Would you think it was rubbish?
Well, I'd be keeping an eye on the time. I've got to get home and get some food. So I'll just clear that rubbish bag. I'll just get rid of that, and then I'm almost done. Just got to sweep that room there, and then I'll be done. That's what I'd be thinking.
In the morning, they obviously realised the mistake that had been made by the cleaner. Apparently, they just replaced it.
All right, so actually it was just a bag of rubbish, so it didn't really matter.
Actually wondering if they just went out and they just picked the bag of rubbish out of the bin, and then just put it back on display.
I mean, it is all bit disgusting, isn't it?
Yeah. So basically, they told her to stop it happening again. They put a plastic sheet over it at night, and said, "Do not throw away the rubbish. It's art." Something similar happened to Damien Hirst in 2001. What happened was a cleaner tidied up a collection of beer bottles, empty cigarette packets, paint tubes, and old ashtrays. Damien Hirst had actually created this work as a kind of like a representation of the artist's studio. So the cleaner comes in to clean up the studio, and he said apparently, as soon as he clapped eyes on it, he thought, oh my God, there's so much mess here.
Yeah.
There's been a real sort of a...
The cleaner was doing us all a favour, to be fair.
And he was also quoted as saying, in the morning, he thought, there's obviously been a bit of a party going on, and he thought it didn't look much like art to him, so he cleared it up and dumped it.
Oh.
Yeah. Apparently, then what the staff had to do was they had to go out into the bins and collect all the stuff that'd been thrown away and recreate it from photographs.
All right, yeah.
Damien Hirst apparently.
That's a depressing job, isn't it?
Yeah. Apparently Damien Hirst found it quite funny though. So that's again another one in 1986. There was a work by the German artist Joseph Beuys, and it's an untitled work. Basically, it's a bathtub, and it had a layer of grease. Now, if you walk into a gallery and you see a bathtub and it has a layer of grease on it, that's gonna make you want to clean it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
You get I mean, I don't always have cream cleaner in my bag, but when you go to a gallery, you want it sometimes, don't you?
So
and a sponge.
Yeah. So that bathtub was cleaned, spotless.
In the gallery.
Yeah. So they arrived and they found the work was damaged. I mean, technically it's been damaged.
Yeah.
And that has happened before, where someone's got so zealous they've actually scrubbed paint off the artwork to get it looking clean.
Right, that seems unusual.
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand the cleaners picking up the bin bags of rubbish, but like maybe giving the artworks a cleaning the paint off them.
Yeah, there was actually one, and it was by another artist. Sorry, unfortunately I can't remember the name, but it's another artist who had a piece, and it was quite a valuable piece on loan, and it had kind of like a painted film on it to make it look like, I suppose, dirty rainwater, and someone thought that looks very dirty.
And they cleaned it off for the artist.
Yeah.
Very nice of them.
Yeah. It's like thousands and thousands of pounds worth of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it looked very clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're as you've heard, I'm not that keen on having artwork that looks like rubbish around, so these cleaners sound like they're doing a good job to me.
Mind you, I mean, if you had a Turk, you'd end up having just a piece of bronze if you tried to clean that up.
All right, yeah.
So that draws a close to a close our rubbish.
Oh, we haven't mentioned Filthy
Spectacular.
Luca, who we spoke to a few weeks ago.
No, what Filthy Luca did was he made a sculpture from discarded tents.
He did.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's a giant tent monster. So basically, I mean, I don't know if people know, but when you go to festivals, there's a lot of people that just buy cheap tents and then they just dump them. They don't repack them and take them back with them and use them again.
Yeah.
So this is quite a big problem. And what he's done is he's made this inflatable monster out of discarded tents to raise the awareness of the issue, and it's been shown around festivals.
Yeah, no, I've seen that.
It's
yeah.
really cool.
Great, yeah.
We'll put a link to it on our site.
Yeah, and to our Filthy Luca. We had a chat with him, didn't we, a couple of months back?
Yeah, so it's just to say, if you want to head over to our Facebook page, we've got links to all our social media stuff, and it's just goodbye. Then
Goodbye.
that was rubbish.
Was it?
Yeah.
This whole episode was rubbish,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, your goodbye was rubbish. Right.